Welcome to the Purpose Driven Executive Podcast, where we help you go from making your work your life to making your life work. We share true stories, interviews, and experiences that will help you, the hero, in your quest for passion and purpose. Higher purpose, higher productivity. This is the Purpose Driven Executive Podcast. What is up, people of purpose? I'm Donnie Tuttle, your host and the priest of purpose. I'm just playing. I'm nothing. I'm just you, but on my place of the journey. But I found someone really cool in a way that, first off, I think the way that I connected with him is very relevant for you, the listener. And next off, his message is absolutely, I believe, going to amplify what's inside of you, wanting to get out. And I'm just going to tell you, go ahead and look him up. You will find him in many places. His name is Justin Breen. He is the most epic person I know, and at least that I've met, in most recent times. And you'll understand why I say that. Justin, welcome, my man, to the Purpose Driven Executive Podcast.
Can't wait to talk, dude. This is going to be truly awesome.
I got to ask, like epic. Are you this is the word that comes up in many places. I find this seed. I don't know if this started at a time. I don't know if you're like a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure guy. I want to know where that snapshot came from.
What a great first question. And no one's ever asked me that before. I have been using the word epic in my life for so long. It's like the name of my company, Brepic. It's just a joke. It's just that's literally, everybody laugh, but like there's no I always laugh at people that put so much time and effort into their company's name.
No market research. This is just yeah.
So one of my actually he is my best friend. He used to work at P&G. He sold his first company, started another one. So he used his P&G brain. His name's Chris Peterson, and to do all market research, all this development. And I'm just I was driving up to Wisconsin. I'm like, oh, I'll just name my company Brepic. I like saying the word epic. And so it's really weird now because when everyone, you see the word epic all the time in a movie review or, somebody says it, I always laugh, and my kids laugh too. My sons are 6 and 7. And people now say to me, they're like, hey, when I hear the word epic, I think about you. like you started this conversation, most epic person you know or have met recently. It's just funny, man. And I like the word. That's pretty much it. So
dude, listen, I know you have a past with watching movies with your dad, right? Was there a moment where it was Bill and Ted going,
no,
epic?
No,
It
man.
wasn't there. It's always been there, huh?
Yeah. So, obviously, I was a journalist for 20 years. I've been in the media my whole life. I will say my favorite, I have two people, my most favorite people in media are Howard Stern, which everybody pretty much knows. He's a genius. More people don't know this person. His name's Adam Shine. He's a satellite radio sports broadcaster, and then he has his own TV show. He's a genius too. He's actually my age, has 3 kids, and he uses the word epic all the time as well, which I think is funny. But no, I mean, it's just kind of I wish there actually was more of an origin story to oh, epic just popped into my head one day, but no, it's just
there.
I just can't, when I was an employee at journalism companies, I would say it all the time. And now I have more than 40,000 followers on social media. When I was a journalist, it was around, 10, 20, 30,000. I would always use it in headlines of stories I would write. I would try to get the word epic in almost every headline or get the word into every story. If you look, you could Google my name, Justin Breen DNA Info, which is the news site I worked at before I started this. And 30 to 40% of the stories had the word epic, at least in the headline, and a far higher percentage had the word in the story. So it's just it's ridiculous. I know that, but it's also kind of funny. So,
Hey, man, I love it. It's so cool to like to make your own definition of cool. And a part of that
yeah,
is right. We don't need to fit into anyone's shoebox here. We get to basically define that and not take ourselves so seriously. And I
oh
just
God, I
I love it. I
definitely do
wanted to play
not
that
take
little.
my yes, and I do not take myself seriously. Like, um, people that know me know me. Like, I have a very, 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 very dry sense of humor, and people don't know how to take it at first when they first meet me. But then they get to know me, like, oh man, you're actually really funny. At first, they're like, this guy's kind of like, he's like kind not offensive per se, but like very direct, and they're confused. But after a while, they figure it out.
So, all right, there's a lot of places I want to go, right? But I wanted to see if we could frame it a little bit in like let's start with a career. I kind of don't like that because um, for most people that's not necessarily who they are. But I feel like there's some great reflections that for you and for me, like we actually get to spend our lives doing what we love the most with the
Hmm.
people we love the most. But
Right.
I'm going to pull that aside, and I want to know if we can just jump on the elevator and in fast motion, like, can you take us from being a journalist, right, in the career, and then to the place to where you are who you are right now. And by the way, I have in my notes right here, I wrote down for myself, relationship genius or connecting genius. I put relationship, but also connection. But take me from there to here, and we're going to pull in all the whys and the hows and all that. But just give us a really quick view of what that looks like.
Sure, I can do that, and I'm happy to do that because it explains my story and my brain and why I'm so direct. So I was a journalist for 20 years, created my entire business model based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. So there's that foundation. In terms of how I started my company, I was working as a full-time journalist. February 10th, 2017, had my job salary cut in half just due to cutbacks. I mean, it's journalism. That's what happens in journalism, no matter, how successful you are or where you work. That's just what happens. So next couple of weeks, tried to find a full-time job, couldn't find one. On April 16th, 2017, I incorporated and created my company, Brepic, while I was still working full-time, and no one knew I had started a company. Over the next 6 weeks, reached out to 5,000 people to get my company's first 5 clients. So 999 no's for every yes. In early June, got my 5th client, which that essentially the reason why it was 5 clients is that monthly income was the same as what I had been making full-time as a journalist before my salary was cut. So it gave me enough runway. So got that 5th client, resigned from my full-time job the next day. And then a couple days later, Robert Feeder, who's the top media columnist in the Midwest, did a story that I started my own firm. So that is how and why I started my business. I didn't know anything about business before starting this, didn't know what a W-9 was, didn't know what LLC stood for. And, since that article came out, it's been a really interesting journey. I mean, it was an interesting journey before that, but since that article from Robert Feeder came out, it's been super interesting because people know about what I've been up to, and then they've kind of followed along to see how it's grown and grown and grown.
I love that, man. And I felt like that's important just to be able to frame the rest of what's happening because, listen, we're not talking to run-of-the-mill people here. We're talking about people they realize there's more to life than there's like almost like this, always a stark line that people say there's work and there's life, and then there's a line and there's work-life balance and
Mm-hmm.
there's all, and then maybe there's a blend or maybe there's this, but one of the foundations that you have built on was going, and again, just kind of, by the way, Justin's also an author. I definitely recommend Epic Business. Yeah, baby.
That's awesome, man.
It's cool. We'll get into why it's cool in a moment, but when you created what you're creating, it's not about see, a lot of people make their work their life.
Mm-hmm.
Some people make their life work.
Mm-hmm.
Or make their life their masterwork, as I like to say. And what I see here is I see someone who's made his life his masterwork. You've made it flow from what you love the most. And,
Mm-hmm.
and it started with family. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so I only work with visionaries who look at things as investments, not costs. So if someone's like, what do you cost or charge? Those people go away immediately, not only from being a potential client, but from my network, from being referral partners, whatever it is. So what that's left is, and what it's my company actually is, like, it's not really a PR firm. What it really is a incubator of geniuses around the world, and we're constantly introducing each other for mutual gain. And the byproduct is I'm constantly getting intros to companies that want to hire my firm. So I give you that foundation because if I meet someone and my brain's pretty high level in terms of gauging BS artists or shysters or all that nonsense. If I meet someone, I think they're going to take away valuable time away from my family, they just go away like pretty much immediately.
So that's your qualifier, like, or disqualifier, I should say.
Yeah. I have a wonderful wife and two young sons, Jake and Chase. They're 7 and 6. Yeah. And so they're going to take away quality time away from my family. I don't work with them. It's very simple.
Right. Define what that might look like. Someone who might take away quality time from
Someone who wastes my time, meaning, again, someone who asks, what do you cost or what do you charge? Those people are toxic because they're only thinking at things at a transactional level as opposed to a real relationship partnership level. Transactional and businesses growing are a byproduct of having real relationships and partnerships with people and genuinely helping them. Someone who's going to bother me at all hours. So like what I've learned is, again, with the cost charge thing, the people that ask you what does an investment with you look like, they're not going to bother you. They're for the most part, those are folks enjoying their own lives and their own families. And they've invested heavily in their businesses and brands, and that's why they have successful businesses and brands. They don't look at things as costs, they look at things as investments. So that's, again, like most people, maybe not in this podcast because who your audience is, but usually when I talk, most people think I'm crazy or an alien or whatever. And those people, like I said, they just go away. And then the people that are left are usually the most successful people in the world, the happiest, who have found joy in their lives. And they're like, oh, I want to reach out to this person. So it just eliminates all the noise.
Hey, thanks for being someone who is on this journey of purpose with me. And I am with you, my friend, and I've got something for you. Have you ever been moving towards purpose and sometimes it just looks like a big mess? Sure you have. We all have. And the reality is we're usually not going to get to a destination unless we have a roadmap. And that's exactly what I've created. If you will go to purposedrivenexecutive.com, you can get it for free. And this is the culmination of all of my studies, all of my coaching, all of even my own personal living. And I've created a very visual, very easy way for you to map out your purpose. This is for you. This is for people you're leading. This is for your family. Go on over right now, purposedrivenexecutive.com, and get your free map of purpose. So you just told us that we can have it all. Is that what you're saying, Justin Breen?
I mean, I do. I do it. So you said the word work many times, and I work exactly 0 hours a day, every day, because none of this is work for me. All of this is fun. So I created a business, and I hate the term lifestyle business. It's complete nonsense to me. It's just not a lifestyle. I've created a global company that has all these amazing people in it, and it just keeps growing. So I do what I like to do. I make as much money as I want to. I only work with the people that I want to work with. And I'm just constantly finding joy in that. So yeah, you can have it all or whatever, however you want to frame it. But like, it's just, it's again, how my brain has evolved is like, I was never like this before starting a business. And even in the first year or two, just trying to figure things out. And then my brain just kept evolving and evolving. And basically my day is talking to like between 5 and 10 people like you every day around the world. And I just like a sponge, and I just keep evolving.
So, and I want to get into, because I feel like there are some tactics that are connected with those things. But I want to stay here for a second because Justin, it's so easy, especially when in this culture where we worship the grind, or we bow to the altar of the things that we have to do now so we can have the things we want later. It's like there's all of these things, and to build business, it's just the image is that of sacrifice and difficulty. And I'm not saying it's not difficult or sacrifice, but we just automatically take the worst path. And yours is through relationships. And by the way, what you've reflected to me is pretty much like that's how my life exists. That's my existence. Spending my life with the people I love the most.
Wow, isn't that amazing?
You said something in here that you said that your friends become your clients and your clients become your friends. And so I want to see if you can unpack maybe some of that, because like this is possible. Some people don't see it as possible. When you started, you weren't necessarily barking up that tree.
No, I had no idea what I was doing.
How does that happen for an individual? How do we get to that place, Justin?
Well, there's a couple like black and white answers to that. One of the chapters in the book is when you start a business, it takes 2 full years to really figure things out. It's not a quick fix. You mentioned the grind. That was a significant part of the beginning of my journey. And every successful entrepreneur I know, and I know tens of thousands of them on a global level, all of them, 100% of them have either been through extreme depression, high anxiety, horrible traumatic experiences. A lot of them have been bankrupt. And the one thing they have in common is they never gave up, and they never used that as like it's entrepreneur life. Like, it's just entrepreneur life. So they just plowed through it, I guess, grinded through it. And so what happens is when you go through that and more importantly, learn from that, especially when you learn from that, you have to learn from it. Then you come out on this other side like this, and you learn and then implement those lessons into your life. So if I hadn't have gone through, reaching out to 5,000 people to get 5 clients, or, it's all about learning from I've been rejected so many times in my life. I mean, and most people have too. The difference between a high-level entrepreneur and most people is that most people just give up, or they get trapped in a bubble. High-level entrepreneurs, they use it as fuel and just plow through it. But I've been rejected so many times that you just learn from it, and it's not even rejection. It's like learning and growing from that. Does that answer your question at all? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think a part of it, I definitely believe that rejection is either going to define you or resign you. Like you're going to define your difference from that, or you're going to be just resigned to be just everyone else.
Right.
Because, like that part of it hurts, but once you get the calluses, right, it doesn't hurt anymore.
No.
But you've done this thing though, where you, I've heard a lot of people say you kiss a lot of frogs to get to the prince or whatever, right?
Yes, a lot of frogs, a lot of toads. Oh God, a lot of toads.
But it's not like that anymore. You're not kissing 1,000 toads.
I'm not kissing any toads. I don't even reach out to people anymore. People reach out to me. I haven't done any direct sales or reaching out to anyone, and I can't even recall the last time I did that. Okay. So let me explain what my company really is. Again, I have a PR firm. What my company is really this giant incubator of geniuses around the world. We're constantly introducing each other for mutual gain. The byproduct is I'm constantly getting intros to companies around the world that want to hire my firm. Okay, so there's the boilerplate message. One, it's 100% true. Two, so like to kind of quantify that, on minimum, I make 10 intros a day on a life-changing level. Just, I can connect brains on a global level. I don't write anything down. It's just in my head. So I'll talk to someone halfway across the world and they'll say something, and then I'll just connect them to someone else who thinks the same way. It has nothing to do with business, and it has everything to do with business. So let's say minimum 10 of those a day. Minimum a day, I get 3 to 4 really good intros to companies that either want to hire my firm, people that want me to speak, people that want me to do media interviews like this, people that just want to connect. At a very high level, because I'm so direct, it weeds out all the nonsense. And then people are like, oh, I know someone that would be a good intro for me. So I strongly feel, I say this all the time, and I said this before COVID, and I certainly think this now even more than ever, that there'll be more companies like with my business model where it's high price point, low overhead. You essentially leverage your network on a global level to create endless opportunities for your network and for yourself, and then you're easily able to pivot. So and the beauty of that is, like, I don't care about revenue at all. That's a meaningless number to me, driven by ego. So like, if you're making $5 million, your company's making $5 million in revenue, and your company's making 10,000 in profit, then like, oh, congratulations, you have a $5 million revenue company where you make no money.
Right.
My company is essentially all profit. So my 10xing has nothing to do with revenue. It's about network on a global level, because that creates endless opportunity for my network and for myself, and it just grows and grows and grows. And then experiences in life, 10xing experiences with my family. So when COVID does end, and it will end, then I'll just keep doing more cool stuff with my family. That's it.
I love the Justin. I love the idea of just someone who is like, we had this discussion when we first met. We were connected to,
and how did we meet? We were connected by someone in my network who I had been connected to through someone else, and because we matched brains. It had nothing to do with what business. It just connecting brains.
Right. And for those of you, by the way, that are, you're in the I don't know, let's just say there's a wrong way to do it. Okay.
Right. Yes. It's very direct. There's a right way and a wrong way, but go ahead.
Well, and you being the person who Justin, I thought I was like, I'm doing something when I'm giving 1 to 2 a day, and I meet this guy who is purposely making at least 10 intentionally making 10.
It's not even, it's just in my blood. Like, it's
dynamite
just
connection.
habit.
And there's a byproduct of that, which you've described a little bit of,
Yes.
But there's also something that's happening in you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, like, I'm sure though, along the way, you like, do you run into the person who's like, it's an immediate, like, they are on a different frequency than you.
Yes.
And it's like, well, Justin, that's great. Let me tell you what it is that I have and why you should buy. Like, do you ever, like, what are the worst ones? What are the worst, I guess, connection calls that you? Oh no, that
doesn't happen anymore. But 2, when it did,
it's happened, Bo. I'm sure before.
Yeah. So when it did, here's how it does happen. I think you'll laugh and appreciate this, and I'm not going to name the company's name. There's a very big financially based company, and I have 22,000 followers on LinkedIn. And so when anyone from this company reaches out, I will connect with them usually. And then usually what happens is I will get a phone call, because I'm pretty sure my phone number's on LinkedIn or somewhere. And when someone from that company calls, I immediately cut them off and say, I apologize. I'm ending this call now, because every time someone from your company calls me, they are trying to sell me something and not trying to create a real relationship, partnership. Please do not contact me again. I am not interested. And I tell them it's nothing personal with you. It is your company and this way that your company does business. And this is a very successful company, by the way. But for me and how my brain works, that's the worst thing, to your point, the wrong way of doing things. I don't sell anything. I don't even talk about what I do unless someone asks. How I start conversations is like, let's talk and let me think about people I can introduce you to. And if someone, how can I be of value? So so people are like, a lot of people think I come off as arrogant, and it's actually, to me, the opposite of arrogance, because what I say is, so like, in terms of PR and connecting people at a global level, there are very few people in the world better at it than I am. And I'm a really good dad, above average husband, and I'm useless to society besides that. So Um, People laugh at that. Again, I have a dry sense of
Amazing.
humor.
I love it.
So people, again, at these two superpowers and being a good dad, I'm exceptionally good at it. And frankly, that's the opposite of arrogance, because arrogant people think they're good at everything. I'm actually terrible at almost everything. At almost everything, I'm horribly bad. And so I'm extremely confident at at those two things, but I'm not cocky. It's a big difference. Cocky people think they're great at everything. And so what happens is when you project the confidence and you live in that, and you project abundance, then it's a magnet to attract other people like that, which again, what my company is, it's just a giant group of people like that. So it attracts people like that. And to me, almost as importantly, if not more importantly, it actively and intentionally and purposely repels other types of people. Because I don't want to talk to them. Two, I don't want to work with them. Three, I don't want to have relationships with them because they're toxic, in my opinion, based on my experiences. They're toxic personally. And then for the most part, again, based on my experiences, those people hang out with other people like that. And so if they did make an intro, it would be to another toxic person. So that's why I'm so direct when I talk, because I don't want to deal with that.
Come on, man. So a couple like I believe that there is when we are able to define ourselves, it creates a confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And that confidence actually creates a few things. It will create a polarity, which
Yes.
will attract the right stuff, and it will repel the wrong stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe, Justin, that we're all made for greatness, and it's okay to be great and call yourself great at what you are great at.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're a liar. Do you think do you feel like that's in every person, and why aren't people maybe living up to that?
So there's a couple ways I can answer that. I strongly believe most people are born with certain types of gifts, if you want to call them superpowers, or unique
Yeah.
ability. Unique ability is what you're good at, when you really like to do. So my two are connecting people on a global level and getting people in news at a high level. I guess a superpower is being a good dad, but a lot of people have that superpower. The difference between a lot of entrepreneurs, or even the difference between the people I talk to, because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs inside companies, but they're employees, they think like entrepreneurs, is that people, the ones I talk to, they've actually figured out what their superpowers are, and they've taken the time to let their brains evolve and figure out what they like to do and what they don't like to do, and what they're really good at and what they're horrible at, and all that kind of stuff. Based on my experience and just looking at things from kind of a floating around perspective, I don't think most people ever discover their superpowers. I just don't. Maybe it's because they're hanging out with the wrong people who don't challenge them on that or open up their brains, or they're too focused on the grind, or going to the office, coming home, going to the office, So I think that's kind of more what it is like I through constant brain work and being involved with some of the top people in the world, and being in all these great entrepreneurial groups like Strategic Coach and Entrepreneurs Organization, I'm just constantly evolving my brain. And the people I hang out with are the same way. So, and they know what their superpowers are.
Come on. I love that. I love the idea too. It's almost like, I feel like, and this is like marketing 101, this is leadership 101, that really for you to make an impact on someone, they should be asking a question that people ask at a certain phase. And too many of us are ineffective because we're trying to spray it to everyone, when really
That's right.
it has to be at a specific point
for
you to be a good guide for them.
That's right. So I am very helpful and the best friend for so many people, but only the right people for my brain. If someone doesn't mesh with my brain, they just go away.
And you said something earlier that I want to bring back, and this is for people who are, let's just say you're hiring a team. This works where you're hiring a team. Maybe you're selling, or maybe you're finding a spouse, And it's the concept, Justin, that not everyone is a fit. And so can you, like you've kind of gone through that, but can you laser on that one for a second? Not everyone is a fit.
Not most people aren't fits.
Right.
90. Okay. So this is data that's in my brain from, I don't write anything down. I just talk to people. If I remember something super interesting about them, it's squirreled away in here somewhere. It's definitely a genius superpower. I'm very fortunate to have it. And I'll just remember that. So every success that I've had in life, whether it's meeting my wife, starting this company, finding the right fit person in my network or a client, has been the result of figuring out what wasn't the right fit or failing or being rejected. So I've learned what is the right fit for my life, whether it's literally my wife and, family or business or all that kind of stuff, based on learning from what was not the right fit. And the phrase that everyone says is everything happens for a reason. That's 100% true. It really does, because if something was not meant to be, or a potential client dragged you along for a year and then never signed, that was meant to lead you to the right person that would sign. I firmly 100%, and I've quantified that by building a successful global company where I make as much money as I want. If you want to look at terms like that, I've learned that. But go ahead.
Well, I see but Justin Breen, as he is right now, couldn't be that Justin Breen if he was still trying to be everything to all these no's. Oh no, but please, I can help. I can do better. It's like
no.
Too many of us walk around like beggars, not realizing our superpower.
Yep. That's what I did at first. That's how I started my company. That's exactly what I did. And so if you would like to have a closing rate of 1 out of 1,000, go for it. And that's what I had to do. I'm glad I did it, because it taught me about myself. And if you can start a business from nothing and turn it into a company like successful as the one I have, I'm convinced you can do anything. So I do a lot of interviews, and people always ask like, oh, how you're doing? I'm like, oh, life's amazing. I'm doing great. And a lot of people are like, what? No one said that to me since COVID started. I go, well, I have an amazing family that's safe and sound. My business is doing well. I'm just coming off the best quarter my company's ever had, because I only work with visionaries who look at things as investments, not costs. And I do what I like to do and what I'm good at. And for lack of a better term, the average person that hears that, they're like, they can't, it's like a, it's like an alien talking to them. But the people I usually talk to, they're just smiling. So since COVID, all the visionary wackadoos that I hang out with, there's no panic. There's no scarcity mindset. There's no cost mindset. They're just pivoting and investing like crazy. I know one of my buddies in an entrepreneurs organization, she lost, I think, 90 to 95% of her company in 2 days, because it was a catering business. So 90% of her company gone in 2 days. And she just started another company. So I introduced her to like 50 people that could be good fits for her. It's just entrepreneur life. So when you get through all this other stuff, and you start a business from nothing, then this is just business as, if you want to say business as usual, that's what it is.
Well,
just figure it out.
In what I see is I think that we share the same belief. It's like when you see the lifestyle that you want to have, you see what you want, right? I want my family here. I want to live there. Like those things. And you understand business, and really it's even less than, or even more important than understanding business. You have the right people and players in your life.
It's the people.
Really, like, you can generate whatever you need to generate to have whatever you want to have. Scarcity is not a part of the picture.
Scarcity?
Right.
Abundance mentality is the only mentality. So I say that at least 5 times a day, at least. Whether it's out loud or write it on social media. And just guess what happens, man? When you write that or say that all the time, that's just what happens. You just don't even think about scarcity. It just doesn't. And again, you talked about magnets or polarity, which I love that term. I might, if you don't mind, I might start utilizing that
I've
term.
already trademarked it, so I'm kidding.
Right, polarity. That's your word. You actually made up a word.
All
But
scientists, yeah.
but that's what it is. Again, and then it just attracts people that think like that and repels people that don't.
I'm gonna take and hold a little bit of a magnifying glass to where we're at right now, and we'll play this one back in a few years and test your ability in prophecy. But
Right.
but I want to know, like, when you look at what's happened with COVID and just some of the scenarios that are facing our nation right now,
Mm-hmm.
what good do you see? What trends do you see? What should we be paying attention to? Because things have shifted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it can be positive and powerful, just like your friend was able to pivot. There's so many opportunities that are now that this has created a lane for. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. So in March when this first started, I have like 40,000 followers on social media. So I posted, COVID is going to provide the greatest opportunity for people to start their own businesses or pivot or create technologies that are going to be life-changing. Very similar to what happened in 2008 when housing crashed. People just created new businesses, and it's going to be the same thing for this. That happened almost immediately, but that's just going to keep changing. The other interesting perspective I have is most of the conversations I have now are with people outside the U.S. because since January 1st, 2020, I've said the term global growth every single day. One of my good friends, Joe Martin, also has been a client. He names his years, so I decided to name this year global growth. So I just say global growth every day. And again, I just started this global organization just for fun, and we had our first chat, and this month, and it was me. I was the American, and then we had someone from Spain, Germany, Switzerland, Bahrain, Mexico, Canada, and Australia. And the next month I'm again the only American. So there's two reasons that I like talking to people outside the US. One is because I want my business to grow outside the US, and I have clients outside the US now. From a brain perspective, I am fascinated by how non-Americans think. And the term that keeps coming up from the people I talk to outside the US is American exceptionalism. So that is a very polarizing term. And it's really great for entrepreneurship because Americans who are exceptional definitely create amazing businesses. They never give up, grind it out, exceptional. For COVID, it's the worst thing ever. Americans think they're immune to this. Not all Americans, obviously, but you see what's happening with people fighting in court to not wear masks. And my wife's a pediatrician, by the way. And so, I get, information from a medical perspective that's, a lot of people don't get. And because of American exceptionalism, based on my experience and conversations, America will have more problems with COVID than a lot of other countries because Americans, a lot of them, think they're immune to this, or it's not real, or they're, it's just going to disappear. And so that's where it's, I'm the most positive, abundant mindset person ever, but that's where America really can damage itself with thinking they are smarter or above this disease, and they're not. They're just not.
And if you were, let's just imagine you weren't running the global organization that is Brepic, and you had your mind wiped from anything having to do with PR, and you were given, I guess, I don't know, a small sum of money and said, go start something. Knowing the environment that you see right now, what would you start business-wise? I
would start a business that connects people on a global level, and with some type of subscription model.
Love it.
My network is insanely powerful, and it just grows every day. And like, so I have all these like well, I used to, and I will again, but I used to have all these like client appreciation parties. And I actually, so today for viewers, today that we're talking is July 17th. My book launch party had been planned for July 18th. And so we've got this amazing band booked and this incredible downtown Chicago nightclub space. It's going to be awesome. And, but obviously, who knows when that's going to happen. I'm hoping early 2021. But so I have all these cool events because I just like bringing all these amazing people into a room, and it's like, for me, it's like a science project. I'll just sit off in the corner. I'll just sit in the corner and just watch.
Magic happens at sea, right?
It's what it is. I mean, I don't, it's a great investment in like other people's lives. And I've seen if you want to look at it in just a transactional way, it's amazing what business comes from this. But for me, way more importantly, it just creates all these amazing relationships and partnerships and fun.
Can you okay, so I want to, so when you do something like this, and by the way, I work with people who literally, like, the goal is to make your workday Saturdays, right? Like I love how you said it earlier. Like, I work exactly 0 hours.
0.0. Animal House 0.0
a day. But you said, so events and the power of that, and I'm talking to maybe like someone who is they run a company, they've thought about this, and but they want to have like I want you to give permission to that person, not just because of like, hey, intrinsically here's what happens to you, but give me a business case. Like, can you tell me of a time where that actually worked into, wow, I got, like, this happened financially because of that for this business?
For me, no, but I don't care about that. I care about helping my partners. So without giving specifics, the last party I had was it was in January, and had one of my clients is it's called the Magic Penthouse, and so they're one of the top magic acts in the U.S. Actually, they're global. So
interesting. I said the events are magic then, but go ahead.
Yeah, so they provided the entertainment, and there was so much business developed from that, and so many new friendships. And these events are not inexpensive. They are very high-priced investments, but that's what they are. They're investments in appreciating my clients or potential clients or friends. And at this book launch party, now what it's become is like, now it's just like a placeholder. When it does happen, there's going to be I'm going to have to get a new facility. I'm going to have to get a new venue because there's going to be too many people at it when it does happen. But dude, it's crazy, man. It's and I guess this personally, I guess it has affected and helped my business. Like, personally, it's led to clients re-signing contracts, high 5-figure to 6-figure contracts.
So when someone looks at that, it's interesting, Justin, that there's so much. Again, I think this is a part of the America.
When you look at things as an investment, it always pays off. It is when you look at things as a cost.
Thank you.
Somebody messaged me today. They're like, "Hey, I heard you spent this much on this thing, and if I spend this much, what will the ROI be? Will it lead to that?" I go, "I don't know." I go, "It's an investment." I go, "This investment has led to these opportunities or these discussions and these, like, I don't ROI. I don't know. I just don't." And I know a lot of people look at ROI. I get that. Okay. But for me, ROI is brain. It's a brain investment.
And one of the things that I can say that I've seen, and I've worked in corporate America, and when I work with a lot of companies, is, Justin, I feel like a lot of people do a really good job, or at least, again, maybe they're focused in the outward of like, how can I get new? How can I get new? How can I get new? Mm-hmm. It's almost like a business growth of like they're consumerists of new business, but it's like, what's the best and most profitable and easiest business to get? It's what you what you've already got, and to create a scenario where I believe, Justin, that if you can remind me that you love me and I love you, I mean, like, is there anything better than that? You know, and again, there are lots of dollars that go along with that.
Right. It's a
There's no
byproduct
reason
of
not
it.
to do it. Yeah. So,
The money, but again, one, I'm glad you understand this. Two, I get frustrated because it's the opposite I hate using the word should, but like it's the opposite of how most businesses like think it should be. It's like the bottom line is about developing real relationships, not about
right.
revenue. It just doesn't. I don't know how that happened. I don't know the history of business in the world about revenue. I know that for me, and again, the people in my network, it's not about revenue. It's about life. And so the people are like, oh, where do you see yourself in a year? I go, I don't know. I go, ask me where I see myself in an hour after I talk to someone running a giant company in China and they're potentially wanting to work with me. So I'm just enjoying my life.
Love it. This is and it. This is freeing, right? Like to live this way. There's freedom.
Dude, you have no, well, you do know. So here, the problem is, and one of my neighbors, great guy, not an entrepreneur. He's like, I told him what I did all day. He's like, he goes, I would love to do that. I go, yeah, I hear that from 100 people every day. I go, well, go for it. But then two, he's like, it must be really hard for you to talk to people that don't think like this. I go, yes, it's very hard for me. It's really hard because I don't know what to say. And my wife, who's not an entrepreneur, thank God, she provides balance in my life. She checks me on that in a good way. She's like, you have to find a way to relate and be kind to people that don't think like this. And because most people don't. So that is. I genuinely try to work on that every day.
That's so cool. We're gonna end here. This is the area where, and I say end, like this podcast is going to end here, but
This is only the beginning of greatness.
Donnie and Justin are going to continue on. There's so many things that there's one personal question I want to ask you at the end. That's going to be
okay.
But it has to do with where you squirrel people away. I'm really curious about where I get squirreled away in your brain. But before that, I want you to dig into the power of networking. And immediately once we met, you were not only connecting me to people, you're connecting me to groups, and you're whatever you're around, you're gonna consider that as normal. And if you're around a low level group of who are thinking at a low level,
that's exactly where you'll be. That's your tribe.
Bring me
out of that tribe.
Bring me to that. Like I don't know if that you've always known that.
No, I did not.
How did you get there? Tell me about some of your groups and tell me about like just bring me into the Bilderbergers here for a little bit.
Okay, so when I first started, I was in all these lower level networking groups, and I was like, what the hell's wrong with me? My brain doesn't think like this at all. And I was getting really annoyed and frustrated because I'm a very high D, and like boredom to me is worse than death. And I'm like, I don't need a painter. I don't care. Like, that's just like, my brain doesn't work like that. So one of my mentors, about a year and a half, I asked her, I'm like, hey, what's a good group of, and she's very high level. She's like, oh, there's this group called Provisors. So Provisors is a national group, high level attorneys, financial people. There's a couple marketing people. And I joined that. I was like, oh man, this is great. Finally, I would say 10 to 15% of the people in there think like I do. And it's been great in terms of, again, black and white. I think I've 60x my investment in that since I've been in it for 2 years. So then Provisors, met a lot of folks in there, and they told me about Strategic Coach, which is an international entrepreneurial organization. I think the yearly investment of that is $12K. I'd easily invest 20 to 30,000 in that. And then that's really helped with my brain mindset. I've been in that a year and a half. And then Then through that, I met some other people that are like, oh man, have you heard about EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization? So I'm in the EO Accelerator program. That's companies 250K to $1 million in revenue, which I don't care about again per se. But what I have learned is when you get to the 250K market, it kind of separates the people that are at a certain level or the ones that are serious. I think EO Accelerator, I think it's like 5K a year. Again, I'd invest 20 to 30,000 in it. So that's where it's nonsense networking groups, waste of time, then Provisors, which has been great. And then that propelled me to strategic coach and EO. And then I'll be very curious to see where it's headed next.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, man, it's been really cool to hang with you. Thanks for letting us dig into your genius brain. I've loved.
Oh, thanks, man.
I love the idea that you like you as the audience, once Justin has his book launch and you've already read his book, because I definitely recommend it. I'll have a link for you to buy it. Epic.
Oh, thanks, man.
Epic Business is the name of it, right? But what you hear in the, like, this is exactly like I'm reading this, Justin, and your voice, it's you. Like if I cut you open, this book.
That's exactly how I am. But there's one dry sense of humor joke in that entire book. I'll let you figure out. You'll have to.
If I find
what
it,
you're well, I want to know what you're
5?
following through. You'll see it.
Okay.
You'll see it. You'll know. You'll laugh. But other than that, my friends who have known me a long time, they who've read it, they're like, where are your jokes in this? I go, I wanted to make it as functional as possible, so if someone didn't know me, that I didn't want to make a joke in it that would confuse people. So, but okay. There is one in there that is funny and true. So
I'll be on the lookout for that.
You'll find it.
And Justin, there's 2 questions I have for you, man. First off, I want to know where you said there's this little place where things get squirreled away in your brain for different people. So I want to know what categories I like where I'm categorized in that. I'm just curious. And then I'm going to ask you to tell us where and how we can connect with you so that we can get more of Justin Breen.
So when someone is looking to meet someone with a very interesting, unusual, direct brain, then I will introduce them to you. And if they're looking for guidance in terms of how to figure out their lives in a productive, purposeful way, then I will introduce them to you. If I meet someone who went to the University of Florida, who is a high-level entrepreneur, I will introduce them to you.
Love it. That's how genius.
That is the value of going to college. Half of my clients can barely read. I'm serious, because they're dyslexic. And when you're dyslexic, your other parts of your brain grow. But the value of colleges, I went to University of Illinois, is really good for networking. And that first step of getting to, they're like, oh, I'm a Gator, I'm an Illini, or whatever it is. Yeah. So.
Love it. Where can we find more of Justin? Where can we get more, man?
So, you can find me on LinkedIn. I got 22,000 followers there, Justin Breen, or my company's website is brepicllc.com. B as in boy, R-E, P as in pony, I, C as in cobra, LLC.com, brepicllc.com.
All right. And when you send the invite to connect with Justin, or when you follow him, the key word is going to be epic. And we all know that. Justin, thanks for hanging out with us, brother.
DT, love it.